ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुक्तापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे। So welcome everyone for today's Bhagavad Gita reading. We will be continuing from where we left, that is verse number 26, I guess. Yeah, verse number 26 of the 13th chapter. So what are we discussing is we have to perceive the super soul, Paramatma, within our heart. Okay, so we have to perceive. So there are two ways. One is through there are three ways which we discussed last time. One is through meditation. For thousands of years one meditates on the form of the Lord, and then he sees the Paramatma, four-handed form of Krishna, in his heart. Let me and the other one is through cultivation of knowledge. They read Upanishads, discuss, get a lot of knowledge, and then they come to know there is a Paramatma within their heart. So they are also able to see it. Others to working through fruitive desires, without fruitive desires. Sorry. If one works without fruitive desires, he becomes detached from this world. He becomes Nishkam Karma Yogi. So he is also able to perceive super soul within his heart. And now there is another also who are not able to do all these things, but they are able to perceive. How that happens? That's what we are going to read. Okay. Somebody read this translation and purport. 26.
Hare Krishna. Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Okay, go ahead.
Translation and purport, both, Prabhuji? Okay. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Again, there were those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death.
Yeah. So those who meditate, they get knowledge, and those who work without uh, fruitive actions. If anybody is not able to do all that thing, then they, even by hearing about the Supreme Lord, they can become conversant with spiritual knowledge, and ultimately they can realize the super soul within the heart. So this is what is example for all of us, right? We are going through the same thing. We are hearing about the Supreme Lord through Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, through our devotees, and then we are able to advance in spiritual life, right? And slowly we are able to see the super soul within our heart. that the super soul is able to, give us knowledge, is able to direct us, right? Slowly slowly this happens by the process of hearing. So hearing is a very powerful process. Go ahead with the purport.
Yes, Prabhuji. This verse is particularly applicable to modern society because in modern society there is practically no education in spiritual matters. Some of the people may appear to be atheistic or agnostic, or philosophical, but actually there is no knowledge of philosophy. As for the common man, if he is a good soul, then there is a chance for advancement of by hearing. This hearing process is very important. Lord Chaitanya, who preached Krishna consciousness in modern world, gave great stress to hearing, because if the common man simply hears from authoritative sources, he can progress, especially according to Lord Chaitanya. If he hears the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, it is stated therefore that all men should take advantage of hearing from realized souls, and gradually it become able to understand everything. The worship of the Supreme Lord will then undoubtedly take place. Lord Chaitanya has said that in this age, no one needs to change his position, but one should give up the endeavor to understand the absolute truth by speculative reasoning. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to take shelter of a pure devotee, hear from him about self.
Yeah. So hearing is so important, right? Prahlad Maharaj also says, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Just by hearing, one can advance in spiritual life. Who is the writer of Ramayana?
Valmiki Prabhuji.
Yeah. How did he become Valmiki Rishi Muni? He was
He
previously
was
a
a
dacoit.
Because Narada Muni,
dacoit, yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. And then Narad Muni gave him
the
what?
knowledge,
The
he gave,
knowledge. And then he
yeah, knowledge.
understood that there is a knowledge of karma and everything, and he wanted to get rid of his karma and advance in spiritual life. So Narad Muni gave him um, Narad Muni gave him the
Knowledge.
mantra to chant the
Yeah.
holy name. What was the mantra?
Om Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
No, no, no.
Uh, Om
To
Namo Narayana.
Valmiki Rishi, what mantra did he give?
Om Om Namo Om Namo
Mara,
Narayana.
No, no, no,
Om
no.
Mara,
Valmiki
Mara.
Rishi wrote what?
Ramayana.
Ramayan Prabhuji,
Ah,
Rama.
so the mantra
Rama
that was given to him just was Rama.
Rama
Hmm.
Rama Rama Rama.
But because he had killed so many people, he started he couldn't even say Ram, so he started with Mara.
Mara Mara
Mara,
Mara
Mara, Mara, Mara.
Ha.
Yes.
Mara Mara Mara
And he
Mara Mara.
couldn't say Ram because he was so sinful.
Hmm.
So then Narad Muni said, you start with Mara, the Lord of Death, and you'll end up with Ram. And Valmiki he did that for many many years by chanting Ram's name, and ultimately he chanted pure and holy name of Lord Ram, and everything was revealed to him. He became a pure soul to such an extent that he used to kill people, and he became such a pure devotee that Lord Ram sent
Yes.
his wife Sita in
To
his
his.
shelter.
Yes.
Can you imagine a person who
Yes.
was so harsh,
Hmm.
and and another person is sending his wife to him? Such a transformation has taken place that Ram had such a great faith on Valmiki's
Valmiki.
devotion that, of all the Rishi Munis, there were many, many Rishi Munis at that point. He chose Valmiki Rishi. Why? Because he chanted Lord's Ram and he became pure soul. So, hearing is very important. Similarly, for us, it is Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Hmm.
Hmm? And it is hearing Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam from pure devotees. And we have to give up speculate. Instead of that, we should become servant, and we should serve the guru and hear from him. So pure devotee means guru, spiritual master. And there are two types of spiritual masters: Diksha Guru and Shiksha Guru. So anyone who any one of them we hear, we will advance. Okay. So we hear from about self realization, and follow in its footsteps, one will gradually be elevated to the platform of pure devotee. In this verse, particularly, the process of hearing is strongly recommended, and this is very appropriate. Although the common man is not often not as capable as so-called philosophers. See, we are not philosophers, okay, but we are faithful in hearing from authority. So we will advance and go back to God. So this is a verse for us for Kali Yuga. Okay, 13.26. Okay. Okay, someone else read
Shall I
27.
read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Translation purpose by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O chief of the Bharatas, known that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field.
Okay, what is the field of activities?
So,
Body, Prabhuji.
Body. Yes.
Body.
And the knower of the field?
Knower of the field is
Living
soul.
soul and super
Soul,
soul.
Prabhuji.
Super
soul.
Soul and super soul, both.
And super soul.
So both this body and the soul and super soul, actually the soul and the super soul control the field of activities, basically. So whatever we are seeing in this world are resultant of this two interaction. Okay. Read from here, whatever is created.
Yes. Whatever is created is but a combination of the living entity and material nature. There are many manifestations like trees, mountains, and hills which are not moving, and there are many existences which are moving, and all of them are but combinations of material nature. And the superior nature, the living entity. Without the touch of the superior nature, the living entity, nothing can grow. The relationship between material nature and spiritual nature is eternally going on, and this combination is affected by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the controller of both the superior and inferior natures. The material nature is created by him, and the superior nature is placed in the material nature, and thus all these activities and manifestations takes place.
Okay. Okay. Someone explain me what does this mean? The material nature is created by Supreme Lord and the superior nature is placed in this material nature. What does this mean?
Material nature is created by superior, that is Lord Krishna.
Him is Lord Krishna.
Nature.
What is this material nature?
Material nature is the
24 elements, Prabhuji.
24 elements is fine, but what happens to 24 elements?
That is our body.
What are they
combined?
What they combine and transform to?
For atom.
Various bodies. Various bodies. Like here it is said, trees, hills, mountains.
Yeah, trees, mountains,
and human beings, animals, reptiles. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the superior nature is placed in this material nature. What does this mean?
Superior natures are living entities. They are placed in the.
The jiva is placed in this
nature.
material nature. What is this material nature? The bodies, the various types of bodies. So the various bodies are made by the super soul or Krishna, and he impregnates all of it with his superior nature, that is the living entities, part and parcel, into this body. Okay, this is how the
material nature is the living organisms, that is human body as well as aquatic animals.
Yes. All kinds of material bodies are created by the Lord.
Yes.
And superior nature is not matter but spirit soul. It is impregnated by the Lord into this material nature. Okay.
Prabhuji, I have a doubt. Like these mountain hills, like super soul is present in even each and every atom, but soul is present even in mountain hill, Prabhuji.
Soul is also present in each and every atom.
Okay.
Yeah, soul is also present in each and every atom.
Super soul is also has no consciousness.
Yeah, in that the consciousness is not so developed.
Okay.
In one of the things, Lord says, you are present even in the stone.
Yeah, Ahilya, she became a stone, right?
Stone.
And then by the touch of Lord, superior energy,
Mm. And she
She
directly
came
came
back
back.
as Ahilya. So stones also have souls, but those souls are not so developed in their consciousness, so they remain inert. Hmm?
Mm.
See, animals also are not spiritually advanced,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Because they don't have that much of knowledge.
No, they can't even absorb it, they can't even understand it,
Mm.
right? You need a human body.
Mm.
Human body only has that advantage where one can think what will happen after death, why we are
Mm.
suffering and all. Do animals think why?
No. No.
No. Because we are thinking why, therefore we are looking for solution. We are opening hospitals,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
To get rid of those solutions.
Correct.
But Krishna says best solution is to take to spiritual life and then you completely get rid of it.
Mm.
Okay. 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 Someone else read the translation here and the purport.
Hey, Prabhuji.
Go ahead.
Translation. One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed actually sees.
Yeah. 1 minute. Huh? So, oh, where is our favorite picture? This is our picture. Okay. And what it says, one who sees that within the body there is super soul and individual soul, there is super soul and individual soul, and neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed. So these two things will never get destroyed when the body is destroyed. That's why we show, the soul is moving from one body to another, from another, and the super soul also, he doesn't get body, but he just moves with the soul. When we have that kind of vision, then we actually see what is happening. Okay. Okay, just the highlighted part.
Purport. Anyone who by good association can see three things combined together: the body, the proprietor of the body or individual soul, and the friend of the individual soul is actually in knowledge.
Hmm. So, three things:
After the
the
destruction
body.
of the body, both the soul and super soul. Okay.
Okay, see, three things:
Body,
the
the proprietor
body,
of body,
proprietor of the body, that is
and
individual
the
soul,
individual.
and the friend of the individual soul, that is super soul. Okay, okay, read this part.
After the destruction of the body, both the soul and the super soul exist, and they go on eternally in many various moving and non-moving forms.
Yeah. So we are just changing bodies. The soul is just keep changing bodies. But when the soul turns towards the super soul in the process of meditation or hearing about him, or doing karma without fruitive actions and gaining knowledge, then this process of going eternally from one body to another body stops. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, that means they'll go back to Godhead. Huh?
The soul returns back home, back to God.
Okay.
I mean, that is the process of liberation, self
Mm.
realization, liberation, mukti.
Mm.
Hmm? Okay, okay, continue reading this translation.
One who is the super soul, equally present everywhere in every living being, does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus, he approaches the transcendental destination.
Okay, now very interesting says we have to see the super soul present in every body, right? And that is a very elevated position actually, where one sees super soul in every other living being, and then he can achieve transcendental destination. So, when we pay obeisances to each other, vancha kalpadurubhyasya kripa sindhubhayavacha, or when we say namaste, right? What are we actually doing? Do you know what are we actually doing? Why we pay
We are
obeisance?
paying.
Ah,
We are
yeah.
paying.
We are going to the super soul, Prabhuji.
Obeisances.
We are paying respects to
Yeah,
the
we are
Respect.
going to the super soul in the
representative.
other body.
Respect.
So we are respecting the devotee. That is one thing. But actually, the obeisances is paid to the super soul in the other body. So in this regard, there is a very nice story in Bhagavatam where once someone joined. Uh, yeah. So in this regard, there is a very nice story in Bhagavatam where you all know Daksha. Have you heard about Daksha?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
Prabhu.
he's a son of,
Prajapati Daksha,
yeah.
Prabhuji,
So he's a son
Prajapati.
of Brahma,
Yes,
born
yes.
from his mind, and his job was to increase population.
Hmm.
So he created many sons and daughters, and one of his daughter Sati got married to
Lord
Shiva.
Shiva.
Who recommended this marriage?
Brahma.
Yeah, he recommended the marriage. So Daksha couldn't refuse. But the problem was Daksha, he got envious of um, Shiva. Why? Because Shiva was very elevated soul.
Hmm.
Hmm? And Shiva was not a very good son-in-law according to him. He wanted a rich son-in-law, but this Shiva was not at all rich. He used to live under a tree, no home, no job, right? No father wants to give that girl to such a husband, right? Who has no job, nothing, no home actually. He
And
had
he
a
used
job,
to
but
have
yeah, no
the
home.
snakes
And
around his neck.
he used to live in crematorium,
Crematorium.
and put ashes on his body.
Body.
So all the things he saw was external.
Hmm.
Why? Because he should have seen that Shiva was very elevated soul. He was self-realized soul. He was a pure devotee of Krishna. See, Daksha is also a devotee of Krishna, and Shiva is also a devotee of Krishna. The problem with Daksha is he was very puffed up of his effulgent body and position as the son of Brahma, a rich man's son, like that. And when he got married to Shiva, Shiva, what you are? Huh?
Hmm.
You are you are living in a mountain, in the crematorium, and this and that, and look at your followers also. They are also not proper, you see. So he was got envious of it, and once what happened is he came for some yagya was performed, and he came there, and Lord Shiva was also there. Now when he came, everyone stood up and paid obeisances to him except for Lord Shiva. And he got angry on Shiva. He said, "You are my son-in-law. You're not paying obeisances to me."
Hmm.
And he started saying bad things about Lord Shiva. Now Shiva didn't say anything, and then Daksha went away. No, Shiva didn't respond. But his followers got angry, and they cursed Daksha. You are a materialistic person. You simply enjoy. You are after enjoyment. This and that, they said. Then the followers of Daksha, headed by Bhrigu Muni, they got angry. They cursed. Those who are followers of Shiva won't be able to take to spiritual life. This, that, they said. Hearing this, that both are fighting, Shiva went off. Then later on, there was once a festival in Daksha's festival, a fire yajna in Daksha's kingdom. So he invited all the daughters except his daughter Sati. Except one daughter, he invited everyone. And then Sati came to know all my sisters are going, and she was looking, they are going in big aeroplanes, and she's not going. And then Shiva told her, "See, we are not invited, we should not go." But then she said, "Oh, it doesn't matter, it's my father's home. I can anyway go. I will convince my father. I'm his pet daughter." And she went. Shiva said, we should go to place where we are invited, where, person won't get angry on me. This Daksha got angry on me, even though he's my father-in-law, he will get angry on you also. Why? Because you are connected to me, you are my wife, na?
Mm.
So, if you go there, he may insult you also. But that Sati said, no, 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 no. My father, how can that happen? And my sister is also there. I want to see them. My mother is there. You know, I'll somehow convince. You know. So then she went, but Shiva didn't go. She went with Shiva's followers, Nandi and everyone. And there, Daksha is not looking at her. And then the fire yajna was going on. And in that fire yajna, they were giving ahuti, Swaha, Indra, Swaha, Agni, Swaha. And they were not giving to Shiva. So she got angry and said, why are you not giving to Shiva? Only to other demigods. Why not Shiva? Shiva is also important. And Daksha didn't speak a word. And then she said, you're making offense to Shiva. He's my husband. But moreover, he's a great elevated soul. You're making such an offense to a devotee. I'm very ashamed that I'm your daughter. And then she thought, I will give up my life. And then she stood and then she put fire. She burnt herself and she died. Then this news Narad Muni gave to Shiva and said, your wife is dead because Daksha neglected her. And Daksha didn't even look there whether when she was committing suicide.
Mm.
You know, he had become so indifferent. Shiva got angry. He sent a great demon, I think Veerbhadra, if I'm not wrong. And then this demon went there and destroyed the whole yajna and caught hold of Daksha and then took a great knife and cut off the head of Daksha and threw the head in the fire. Then he came back to Lord Shiva. Then Shiva got calm down. Then all the demigods they went to Brahma and they said this thing happened. Then Brahma said you disturbed, you offended Shiva. What can you expect? We will go to Shiva and ask forgiveness. So they went to Shiva and they asked forgiveness. Shiva said, see, I only gave them punishment. I only gave them punishment, and they were very puffed up, and But then Brahma said Daksha has to complete the uh, sacrifice. So then Lord Shiva said, we will give him the head of a goat. A goat is only interested in material life and sex life. Daksha is very expert in that, so he'll get this. So he got a goat's head. Now in this story, when Lord Shiva didn't pay obeisances to Daksha, he explains to Sati that I follow this Bhagavad Gita 13.29 verse and I see super soul in present in everyone. Therefore, I always offer obeisances to everybody because of the super soul in everything. So I was already offering obeisances to Daksha. But Daksha, he was not seeing super soul. What he saw? My son-in-law, my daughter, my kingdom. So therefore, his mind was degraded, right? That's what we are reading, right? If we see the super soul in everyone and respect every living entity because the super soul is within their body, then we do not degrade ourselves in our mind, right? But Daksha, he was not seeing super soul. What he was saying? Hey, this person is my son-in-law. That person is my daughter. This person is Indra. External. I am also Daksha, great son of Brahma. But whereas the real identity should be I am soul, part and parcel of Krishna. In my body, there lies super soul, and this super soul is in everyone's body. Then the mind won't degrade, right? And then we can practice spiritual life and advance. Okay. So does that story make sense? How does it connect to this verse?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, very nicely explained. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay. Read from here.
If one understands that the Supreme is situated in his Paramatma manifestation everywhere, that is, if one can see the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living thing, he does not degrade himself by a destructive mentality, and he therefore gradually advances to the spiritual world. The mind is generally addicted to sense gratifying processes, but when the mind turns to the Super Soul, one becomes advanced in spiritual understanding.
Yeah. So see, Daksha's mind was addicted to sense gratifying process. He produced how many children? Anyone has here 5 children? Anyone has in this group 5 children? No?
No,
No,
Prabhuji.
4 children?
No,
No.
Prabhuji.
3?
No.
No,
2?
Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
I have.
Prabhuji.
Okay, 2 and 1. Okay. Huh? How many Daksha had? 10,000 sons.
Wow.
10,000 sons. Can you imagine?
Hmm.
He was so much addicted to sense gratification. And therefore, his focus was not on the super soul. His focus was where are my children, where are my grandchildren, where is my son in law, where is my daughter, right? So, therefore, he got degraded. So, therefore, this attitude, this mentality is very important to see the super soul in everyone's heart. Okay, so somebody coming in our house and living with us, and we have to see the super soul in them, and depending on that, we should be careful in our interaction. Okay,
Hmm.
so if somebody does a mistake, whether it be a homemade at the home or wife or husband or child, we have to be very very controlled way, and we have to only point out the mistake, not the person, and we have to keep that mistake only to that time, not like we are talking of it day and night, and for years we are talking about the same issue. We should see the super soul in everyone's heart. Okay, otherwise we'll degrade ourselves and we'll commit offense just like Daksha did. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created by material nature, and see that the self does nothing actually sees. Purpose. The body is made by material nature under the direction of the super soul, and whatever activities are going on in respect to one's body are not his doing. Whatever one is supposed to do, either for happiness or for distress, one is forced to do because of the bodily constitution. The self, however, is outside all these bodily activities. This body is given according to one's past desire. To fulfill desires, one is given the body, with which he acts accordingly. Practically speaking, the body is a machine designed by the Supreme Lord to fulfill his desires. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or to enjoy. The transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from bodily activities. One who has such a vision is an actual seer. Jai Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Okay, so we are not the sole doer of any activity, right? We discussed this. We are not the sole doer of any activity.
Yes,
We
Prabhuji.
are doing it with the help of the energy provided by the Lord. Hmm? We'll again understand this. Suppose we want to see, we want to walk, we have to direct our bones, our eyes to do that, right?
Yes,
Do
Prabhuji.
those bones, eyes, blood belong to us? No, it's a machine. It is given to us, we are driving it, and this machine will be taken away from us at the time of death. So we are not the sole doer. Who is permitting it? Super soul is permitting
Super
it.
soul.
Yeah. So we desire, super soul understands, oh, this guy has this desire, he needs to walk, he needs to talk. So okay, I sanction it. See, A baby has a desire to run, right?
Mm.
But can it run? No,
No.
because its body has not developed. Does the baby develop the body?
No.
How it develops the super soul? The baby eats the food and the super soul
Mm.
develops the body. Then the soul within sees that I need to walk, I need to run, and then that desire is fulfilled by the super soul. So like that, all our activities are fulfilled by the super soul, and he allows the energies to act according to our desire. Okay.
Prabhuji, how the baby will know that the baby wants to walk or crawl or anything?
See, we have taken many bodies,
Yes.
yeah, and the bodies of activity, hand moving, all these desires are there in our heart. They are there
Okay.
impressed in our mind. So all of that keeps coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The baby doesn't know. The soul, the baby is not the soul is not the baby, na. The soul is there, na.
Yes.
Yeah. And this whole process of developing, growing, and all that. See, we are talking about baby,
Mm.
but one day we become old, na. So do we decide we
Yes.
have to become old? No, it just happens. So that's a
Mm.
part of the cycle, na, that Krishna created, and he will make us. He will give us this body. The body will be new. It will be 10 years old. Then it will become old and dwindle.
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
So we are not the soul doer. So that's what we have to understand this concept very much, that we are not the soul doer, and
Mm.
we are just desiring and things are happening. How? Super soul is sanctioned.
Energy of this soul.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
Someone else read translation and purport.
Shall I read Prabhuji?
Okay. Okay.
Hare Krishna. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. Purport.
Purport. Yeah.
When one can see that the various bodies of living entities arise due to the different desires of the individual soul and do not actually belong to the soul itself, one actually sees. In the material conception of life, we find someone a demigod, someone a human being, a dog, a cat, etc. This is material vision, not actual vision. This material differentiation is due to a material conception of life. After the destruction of the material body, the spirit soul is one. The spirit soul, due to contact with the material nature, gets different types of bodies. When one can see this, he attains spiritual vision, thus being freed from differentiations like man, animal, big, low, etc. One becomes purified in his consciousness and able to develop Krishna consciousness in his spiritual identity. How he then sees things will be explained in the next verse. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So what is material vision? Material vision is to see that someone is a demigod, human being, dog, cat. What is the spiritual vision? Spiritual vision is to see the soul and the super soul within every body. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So now here is the situation. Somebody is sick in your home. Now, with what vision are you going to see that? And what are you going to act? Somebody is sick at your home.
We
So
must serve
the
them,
soul
Prabhuji. We
is
should have.
Uh-huh.
Prabhuji, the soul is sick.
The
That
soul
is
is
the
not sick.
body,
The
body,
The
the
body
body
is
body
sick.
is
is
sick.
sick. The body
Body
is
is
sick.
sick. Body
Body
is
is
sick.
sick. Okay. So
So
then what
body
what
is
are we
sick
going to
means,
do?
so we have to treat him accordingly. That is by
Yeah,
giving
but
him some
spiritual vision
medicines.
says that we are not the body, we are the soul. Soul never dies.
Yes.
So then
But
we
we
can
need
then
to
let
take
go,
care of
right?
the
We can
body
then let
also,
go.
Prabhuji.
Huh?
We
What?
need to take care of body also to serve God. So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That is the right understanding. That this body is given by the Lord, and therefore we have to take care. Just like we we are given a car by our company or our parents, and we have to use it, and we have to take care of it also, right? So similarly, we have to take care of our body also. But what should be the purpose of taking care? The purpose should
Serve
be
the
that the
Lord.
body is performing dharmic activities and ultimately achieving, through that body we are achieving spiritual advancement. Okay. See, company, suppose somebody is your company sends you to some other place, other city for few days, and there they give you a rented car. Use this car. Now he can use that car for two purposes. One is that he can go and to his office and come back, visit customers and come back, right? And second is he can go for a sightseeing in that car. Which is the right thing to do?
Because it is an office
To go
car,
to work, to
only
meet the
for the office.
customers.
Yeah, we should understand
Office
who gave this
purpose.
car. Office
Office.
gave this car. For what purpose it is given? Use only for
Yeah,
that purpose.
that purpose.
Similarly, this body is given by Krishna. For what purpose it is? This
Because
body,
the desire, well, because we have asked for the desire, and then here that desire has to be completed, that has to be fulfilled,
okay.
and then
See, that is
Through
our
the body,
desire,
we
na?
have to serve Krishna. We have to serve the Lord.
Yeah. See. One thing is there that we desire, and then Krishna gives us this body so that you know we can fully enjoy. But when we get a human body, there is something else happening over there. What is that? Is that a human body has the ability to help us in
analyze.
cutting the cycle of birth and death. So therefore, in this human body, when we get this human body, the purpose of the human body are two things. Definitely some enjoyment is there because that's what we desired. But second thing is spiritual realization, which is not happening in cats and dogs body. So human body has one more purpose, that is spiritual realization. And as we go in our life, we should make sure that the spiritual realization is also going on. That process is also going on. And then by the end of that life, we should be able to perfect our life. Okay. Which in an animal body is not possible. See, that is the greatness of human body. So therefore, the Vedanta Sutra says, Athayato Brahma Jigyasa. Now that you have got the human body, do Brahma Jigyasa. Brahma Jigyasa means inquire about the absolute truth, inquire about Krishna, and then hear about Krishna and perfect your life. Okay.
But in Gajendra Moksha, Gajendra being an elephant also, he could remember his past this thing and then called Krishna.
Yeah, Krishna blessed him to remember his devotional activities from previous life, and he prayed for the Lord and he offered the flower. So we don't have to become a Gajendra to do that. In our life only we can offer flower and practice spiritual life.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. 32. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Those with a vision of eternity can see can see the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the modes of nature. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled.
Okay. See, you must have seen children playing video games, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes,
Yeah.
Prabhuji.
So if they fall in that video game, their character falls that, or gets killed or something. The children will say, "Oh, mommy, I fell down, I got killed," something like that, right? But what
Yes,
happens in reality? In reality, nothing happens,
correct.
right? So like that it is. In our material body, the soul is just playing a video game. So if you see this, the soul is playing this video game. He's driving. And if the body gets hurt, the soul, nothing happens to the soul. But because the soul is identifying with the body, he thinks that I also got hurt. Okay. So yeah, this is how to understand this. Okay. Purport.
A living entity appears to be born because of the birth of the material body, but actually the living entity is eternal. He is not born, and in spite of his being situated in a material body, he is transcendental and eternal. Thus, he cannot be destroyed. By nature, he is full of bliss. He does not engage himself in any material activities. Therefore, the activities performed due to his contact with material bodies do not entangle him.
Okay, in our case it entangles. Why? Because we identify with it. But someone who's having transcendental vision, spiritually advanced, the material body doesn't entangle him. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Next.
Shall I continue, Prabhuji, or someone else will read?
Or shall I read, Prabhuji?
Okay, you read.
Okay, Mataji.
The sky, due to its subtle nature, does not mix with anything, although it is all pervading. Similarly, the soul situated in Brahman vision does not mix with the body, though situated in that body. Purport: the air enters into the water, mud, stool, and whatever else is there. Still, it does not mix with anything. Similarly, the living entity, even though situated in varieties of bodies, is aloof from them due to his subtle nature. Therefore, it is impossible to see with the material eyes how the living entity is in contact with the body and how he is out of it after the destruction of the body. No one is in science can ascertain this.
See, here the point is the soul situated in Brahman vision, meaning a soul who is already achieved, very high spiritual status.
Hmm.
They understand that they are not mixed with the body. And our state, we are not with this Brahman vision. We are slowly coming over there. So for us, our identification is still with the body. Okay.
O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. There are various theories regarding consciousness. Here in Bhagavad Gita, the example of the sun and the sunshine is given. As the sun is situated in one place but is illuminating the whole universe, so a small particle of spirit soul, although situated in the heart of this body, is illuminating the whole body by consciousness.
Okay. So, the soul, what does the soul do? It spreads the consciousness. So, therefore, consciousness is coming from a living thing. It is not coming from matter. See,
Living
even
body.
science has understood that consciousness is antimatter. We call it consciousness comes from spiritual being, and they say consciousness comes from antimatter because they don't understand spiritual or something. For them, everything is matter. But they understood one thing, that consciousness comes from antimatter, something which is not matter. Because at India laboratory, they tried to mix ammonia, they tried to mix everything, but consciousness didn't come. They are making robots and all that. But is the consciousness coming in the
No.
robots? No. So they understand this thing, that consciousness is antimatter. Now we know that consciousness comes from the living soul.
Soul.
Yeah. So what is the difference between dead body and living body?
Consciousness.
Yeah. The
Consciousness.
soul is present in the living body and it's spreading this consciousness all over the body. But in the dead body, the soul has left.
Left already.
And therefore there is no consciousness.
The consciousness is a proof of the presence of the souls, as the sunshine or light is the proof of the presence of the sun. When the soul is present in the body, there's consciousness all over the body. And as soon as the soul has passed away from the body, there is no more consciousness. This can be easily understood by any intelligent man. Therefore, consciousness is not a product of the combinations of matter. It is the system of the living entity.
It is symptom of living entity.
But the super soul, which is situated in all bodies as a friend of the individual soul, is conscious of all bodies. That is a difference between supreme consciousness and individual consciousness.
Oh, now there is individual soul and there is super soul.
Super soul.
Individual soul only knows about his body. Super soul knows
Knows
about
all
every other body because he is the one guy who is in all the bodies. Okay, but there are individual souls in every body. Okay, read.
Anybody is reading or shall I continue, Prabhuji?
Okay, you read.
Okay. Those who see with eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage in material nature attain the supreme goal.
Okay, wait. So this is the conclusion of this chapter. That how we need to see. We need to see it with the eyes of knowledge. What is it? That the body is different from the soul and the super soul, and the process of liberation is if we turn to the super soul in devotional service. Then we will attain our supreme goal and become free from the bondage of material nature. Okay, read.
The purport of this 13th chapter is that one should know the distinction between the body, the owner of the body, and the super soul. One should recognize the process of liberation as described in verse 8 through 12. Then one can go on to the supreme destination. A faithful person should at first have some good association to hear of God and thus gradually becomes enlightened. If one accepts a spiritual master, one can learn to distinguish between matter and spirit, and that becomes the stepping stone for further spiritual realization. A spiritual master, by various instructions, teaches his students to get free from the material concepts of life. For instance, in Bhagavad Gita, we find Krishna instructing Arjuna to free him from materialistic considerations. One can understand that this body is matter. It can be analyzed with the 24 elements. The body is a gross manifestation, and the subtle manifestation is the mind and psychological effects. And the symptoms of life are the interactions of these features. But over and above this, there is a soul, and there is also the super soul. The soul and the super soul are two. This material world is working by the conjunction of the soul and the 24 material elements. One who can see the constitution of the whole material manifestation as this combination of the soul and material elements and can also see the situation of the supreme soul become eligible to transfer to the spiritual world. These things are meant for contemplation and for realization, and one should have a complete understanding of this chapter with the help of the spiritual master. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport of the 13th chapter.
Okay. So, with the help of spiritual master, we can understand this knowledge and slowly realize it. Okay. Now, there is one statement here. The soul and the super soul are two. Why Prabhupada in this whole chapter keeps saying this thing that soul and the super soul are separate? They are two. The super soul knows about every other body, but the soul only knows about the one body. And the reason for it is, we will see picture of Madhavacharya. Can you see this picture?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
What is the hand showing?
Two.
Yeah, it's two, right?
Mm.
Sometimes it is shown like a victory sign also in some pictures. Now, why it is shown two?
Super soul and soul.
Yeah. So we are coming from Madhavacharya's lineage. So his philosophy was soul and super soul are two. Now he said this philosophy to defeat who? Adi Shankaracharya.
Adi Shankaracharya.
Now let's see how he looks.
Adi Shankaracharya is blessing, no, Prabhuji?
Yeah. So he is not showing two fingers, he is only showing one finger. So
one finger means super soul, only super soul or soul?
he means the soul and the super soul are same.
Same, okay.
So to defeat him, Madhavacharya came and said that we are two. Okay. Okay. And what is Lord Buddha's?
Ahimsa.
No, how is his mudra?
He is having three, it is in Dhyana Mudra.
That is Dhyana mudra, that is fine. But it looks like Shunya. So his is Shunya. We can become zero. So to defeat zero, Shankaracharya came and said we are one. And to defeat that one, Madhavacharya came and said we are two. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said something. What did he say?
We are qualitatively same, but quantitatively we are different. Achintya bhed.
Yeah. So we are one and two at the same time.
Yeah.
So this philosophy is called Achintya
Achintya
Bheda Bheda
bheda
Tattva.
abheda.
Bheda Abheda
Veda.
Tattva. That we are simultaneously one and different at the same time. Okay, we are qualitatively one with the Lord and quantitatively we are different from the Lord. Okay, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy. So let's open up for some questions or comments. Any question or comment?
Prabhuji, I just wanted to ask you, when Buddha is the incarnation of Lord Krishna, right? So why he has shown Shunya?
The reason was that Buddha incarnated because at that time, what happened is the Brahmanas, they were not pure. So they were performing Vedic sacrifices where you have to sacrifice animals. Now, in the Vedic times, animals were sacrificed not to eat their meat, but it was a test of that sacrifice, whether it is successful or not. And what was the test? You kill the animal, and in front of everyone, the animal would get new body.
Okay.
But here in Kali Yuga, what happened is the Brahmanas were not pure. So animals would get killed, but they would not get the pure body, next body. So many animals are getting killed like that. So to stop that, Krishna came and he preached this Shunyavad philosophy, which is against the Vedas, and he drove away the Vedas. By which, the Brahmanas then lost faith in the Vedas. So no one was doing this animal sacrifice. But then Vedas had to be brought back. So then Adi Shankaracharya was sent. He said, we are not zero, we are one. Because Vedas say that. Tattvamasi, you are that. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. But there was a problem. Then you can also become God. One can conclude like that. So we cannot become God. So then Madhavacharya came and said, we are not one, we are two. One is supreme, one is Anu. Yeah, one is servant. So like that.
Okay.
Any other question?
Prabhuji, can you explain this Achintya bheda bheda, Prabhuji, little bit?
So we have to understand by example. See, drop of sea water. Is it equal to the sea? Can I say is drop of sea water equal to the sea?
I mean, quality wise, like chemical compositions, taste, everything is same.
The answer is no. I cannot say.
Yes.
But the drop of seas can tell me what are the qualities in the sea.
They are salty.
Yeah, and all the qualities, this mineral, that mineral, right?
Chemical composition.
Yeah,
everything
whatever,
is same.
it's there in the sea. I can understand just by the drop of sea. See, we give drop of our blood and the doctor test is done and doctor comes to know whether we have diabetes or not, and this cholesterol is high or not, or TSH is high or not. He doesn't have to take our whole blood and then test it out. So drop of a blood is enough to tell about the body condition. Drop of the sea is enough to tell about the sea. but we cannot say that it is equal to the sea. So in the previous philosophy, Shankaracharya said that we are equal to that. So then that is not acceptable. Why? Because if we are equal, then how come then then how come we are under Maya and Maya is greater than us? Maya is able to influence us. So we can never become God. Whereas from Shankaracharya philosophy, people were concluding that you can become God because you are one. The child can become the father. Child is one with father. Or in marriage, we say the man and the woman become one. Do they become one?
No, Prabhuji.
No,
No,
Prabhuji.
they remain two only. So what they become one? So Vedas also say Tattvamasi, you are that, Aham Brahmasmi, you are Brahman. So how can they be same and at the same time they can be two? So then the answer is you are qualitatively one, but quantitatively you're different. You are Anu, but super soul is Vibhu.
Vibhu.
Hmm. So that is what is Achinta Bheda Tattva, that we are one in quality but different in quantity. And therefore, we are equal and not equal at the same time. See, the child can represent the father, but the child can be the father? No. But it can represent, right? If the father leaves some debt, then the child has to pay for it, right?
Yes.
So that way, how come he has become equal to the father? Right? But is he the father? No.
No.
So like that it is. So it is simultaneously one and the same. Like it is said, right, whether in the school, one of the parent can come. So if father goes, mother need not come. Mother goes, father need not come. But actually the son came from both.
Yes.
So anyway, so point is this thing, this Achinta Bheda Tattva. There is Bhed also and then it is Abhed also. And it's
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Achintya. At the same time, difficult to understand, but it is like that.
Inconceivable. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Okay. So, any last question or we can close?
Prabhuji has
Hare Krishna,
raised hand.
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Tell.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Tell.
Prabhuji, what is the difference or connection between Super Soul and Supreme Lord? Are they one and same, or is there any difference? Super Soul and the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. So, Super Soul and Supreme Lord, they are same. There is no difference. How to understand this thing? What is your name, Prabhuji? What's your name, Prabhuji?
Prabhuji, I am Sanjay Upreti.
Sanjay Prabhu. So Sanjay Prabhu, you go to office, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Which office?
Yes, medium size.
Which one?
Which office? It's volume shipping.
No, company name.
Volume shipping.
Volume shipping, something like that. Huh?
Volume shipping. Yeah, volume
Achha.
shipping.
Volume shipping,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And you live in which place?
Mumbai, Prabhuji. Mumbai.
Oh, you are in Mumbai. Which area
Yeah.
in Mumbai?
It's Goregaon.
Goregaon.
Goregaon East. Yeah.
Okay, Goregaon East. Okay, let's not ask this thing. What is the name of the building?
Raheja Heights.
Raheja. Okay, Raheja Heights. Now, Sanjay Prabhu, in the
Yes,
morning,
sir.
he's in Volam shipping, and at the night, he's in Raheja Heights. Is he same or is he different?
It is different. Prabhuji.
No, it is same.
No, Prabhuji, he is same. Both are same. Only thing
The places are different. I mean, the
No,
Walam
places are
City and
different.
Reja.
Is
Different
Sanjay Prabhu
place.
same or not?
No, Sanjay Prabhu is same. Okay.
Yeah. But then there is a difference. What is the difference? Sanjay Prabhu at home is having a different mood, and Sanjay Prabhu at office is having a different mood. In office, he's serious, he's focused. At home, he's relaxed. In office, he's wearing shirt and pant with a tie, with shoes, right, Prabhu? And at home, he's in dhoti or lungi. So, like that, that is the difference. The super soul is a very formal place for the Supreme Lord. So, the difference is when he is a super soul, na, Paramatma, he is acting
He is
very
having
neutral.
4 hands, no Prabhuji.
The 4 hands, that is fine. But he's acting neutral. He's acting neutral. But when he's Supreme Lord, na, he acts with emotions, feelings. You know, it's not very neutral. So that is the difference, and that is the similarity. So it's like Super Soul is the office of Krishna, and Golok Vrindavan is the home of Krishna. Does that make sense, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hare
So
Krishna.
actually, there is no difference. But you
Mode,
know what
mode is the
happens
nature.
is so in the body, right? The soul is not interested, so then he acts very neutrally. But when the soul is interested, then he doesn't remain super soul. He becomes Krishna, two-handed form of Krishna, and then he starts playing with the soul.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, that's why we see in the lives of the saints, Bilva Mangal Thakur. Bilva Mangal Thakur was blind, but he was in so much devotion to Krishna that Krishna would come in front of him and sit and hear the stories of Vrindavan from him. Now we also can speak stories of Vrindavan, the Govardhan pastime. But what is the difference between Bilva Mangal Thakur speaking Govardhan pastime and we speaking Govardhan pastime? What is the difference?
Wow.
The devotion.
Passion.
The devotion is the
The
difference.
Devotion element, Prabhuji.
The devotion is the difference. So when we have very less devotion, so for us, Krishna is more or less like super soul only. But for Bilva Mangal Thakur, the devotion is so much that Krishna is not interested to be neutral. He becomes the Supreme Lord, and he becomes that Krishna that he wants. Bilva Mangal Thakur wants. Okay. See, for us, Krishna is more or less like this. He says in 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. To show them mercy, I am dwelling in their hearts, destroy with shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So we are becoming slowly devotees. So for us, he is giving slowly the knowledge. When our devotion becomes pure, then our knowledge is perfected, and what he will give then? He will give us he will give us personal interaction, just like he gave to Bilva Mangal Thakur. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. So I think we can stop for today and meet tomorrow and start with chapter
14.
14. Yes, it's a very interesting chapter. This was a very philosophical chapter, but 14 is very interesting, very practical. Even children can understand. Like 8, 9-year-old children, 10-year-old child will also understand. Such an interesting chapter. Okay, so let's meet tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.